light of your love is shining in the midst of the darkness shining. Jesus, light of the world, shine upon us. Set us free by the truth you now bring us. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, Lord, and let there be light.
Good morning. It's good to be back with you. I'm solo hosting for about 7 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, giving Alex a little bit of a break. I hope you'll join me while I'm on the show each week for the next 6 weeks, I guess. We're going right through the end of June. However, on June 5th, if you're looking for us, we're preempted for a sporting event. So other than June 5th, I'll be on each week. We're going to be looking at some individuals in the Bible starting next week who in different ways have shown a faithfulness to God, but it shows that everyone's different. There's a different manifestation of our faithfulness depending on who we are, what we do for a living. Are we single or are we married? Are we parents? Are we children? So I'm going to try to look at some characters in the Bible that actually will help us better understand how God takes all of us, wherever we're at, and uses us to his glory. And that's exciting to me. And so next week we're looking at Daniel. And if you wanted to do a little reading on the side, it's not a long book in the Bible, and it's more of a narrative. See, some of the books in the Bible are genealogies, and some are, they're not a narrative, they're more of an essay or answering or dealing with a certain kind of a question. But a narrative is like a storybook, and it's easier to read. So the book of Daniel is in your Old Testament, and if you want to read ahead, I think it would be very helpful to understanding the message. This week, I want to continue what Alex and I started a few weeks ago. We had a 1-hour special, the first Sunday or the second Sunday in May, and it was answering the question, what must I do to be saved? Now that question is a quote right out of the Bible. And we took that passage of scripture and we answered that question the way Jesus and the apostles answered it. So if you've ever really wanted to know the nuts and bolts of being sure that you're saved, that lesson would be worth looking over again. And you can watch it or listen to it. We have YouTube, we have Podbean. So there's another one. It's not Stringbean, but it's Podbeam and Spotify. Stringbean. I'm not really up on the podcast thing, but I've been listening to Alex while I'm driving in my car, and it is so refreshing. I used to watch every show that he recorded while I was not on the TV, and I'd go home and I'd been recorded it, so I'd sit and listen to it. I got a 15-minute drive into town every day. Why not listen to half of it on the way in and half of it on the way out? And it's really boosted my thinking about spiritual things as I ponder what Alex has to say on his podcast. He wanted me to take this lesson and put it on a podcast. And I said, do I have to? And he goes, well, no. And I said, well, I don't want to then, because I did one with him, and he's doing the gain and all these different terms I didn't know anything about on the volume, and I speak softer than he does, and so he was adjusting all these things on some kind of control. And I said, I really don't want to do it. So he didn't make me do it. So I hope you'll go to YouTube, Let the Bible Speak UP, or Podbean, Let the Bible Speak UP. And you can listen to any of these lessons. Now, the lesson today is an appropriate next lesson in the series of What Must I Do to Be Saved? Let's assume that you have come to a knowledge that you are not saved, and you've taken steps. You've called Alex, or you've called someone and said, I need to repent and confess and be baptized. And in the process of that, we have salvation takes place. We're set free from our sin. It's remembered no more. Well, now we can spring to new life. It's kind of like all winter long, the ground has been frozen. And any life in the ground seems to have gone dormant. Now, all of a sudden, right now, things are popping out of the ground and growing and springing to new life. Well, that's where I want to go today. What is this all about, springing to new life? Well, Jesus was all about that. So our text today is in Mark, the Gospel of Mark, and we're going to primarily be just in one passage, but let's set it up. And to set it up, I wanted to tell you a story about a Canadian scientist. His name was G.B. Hardy. And he said one time, when I looked at religion, I said, I have two questions. One, has anybody ever conquered death? And two, if they have, did they make a way for me to conquer death? Okay, so it's simple. The scientists wanted to know, has anybody come back from the dead, and have they made it possible for me to do that as well? Well, let's take a look. G.B. Hardy said, I checked the tomb of Buddha, and it was still occupied. And I checked the tomb of Confucius, and it was occupied. I checked the tomb of Muhammad, and it was occupied. I checked the tomb of Jesus, and it was empty. And I said, there is one who conquered death. And I asked a second question. Did he make a way for me to do it? And I opened the Bible and discovered that he said, because I live, you also shall live. And he, through his teaching and his message, it truly was good news, which is the English for gospel. Gospel is a transliteration from the Greek, but good news is what we're about. And that means I can spring to new life if I am saved. And it's kind of like everybody gets excited when they see those first little, well, I took my grandkids out and we planted inside, well, I did it outside so the dirt's not all over the house. But then I bring this little tray in of these little seedlings that the kids have planted with me. And boy, were they excited when they saw the first little green sprout come up out of that little planter. And now all of them are starting to come out and they're getting stronger. So in a couple weeks, we'll be putting them in the ground. And the kids just love seeing those little new springing to life. Well, that's the excitement we get when we are obedient to Jesus. And when we do what he has asked us to do and we live the way he's asked us to live, we get this new life. In John 14, if you want to turn your Bibles there, I think that's the first passage I had on here. No, I skipped one. Revelation 21:5 says, and he who was seated on the throne said, behold, I am making all things new. And I mentioned when I did this lesson in Escanaba, I said, that's one of my favorite passages, because the fact that, we get bogged down with our sin and with our struggles and with our relationships, and the price of gas is so high and there's just so many things going on. But Jesus promised us that he's going to make everything new, brand new. Well, I can start to experience that now, and that's what we're going to look at. Look at John 14. I want to read the first 3 verses. This is the Gospel of John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I've mentioned this before, but for those of you who haven't heard me talk about this, John 14, 15, 16, and 17 are all about Jesus preparing his disciples for when he ascends back into heaven. He's going to die. And at first they all want to deny it, and they want to fight for him. But Jesus said, I'm going to prepare a place for you. I'm sure you've heard that passage. So John 14:1, let not your hearts be troubled, Jesus said. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also. That would be comforting to these guys. They've followed him around for 3 years. They've helped him teach. They've helped him heal. And he's saying, don't be troubled. I'm going back. But it's to get things ready, because when I come back, I'm going to take you there with me. Now, drop down to verse 19. And Jesus is talking all the way through this. Jesus says, yet a little while, and the world will see me no more. But you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. So that's what the Canadian scientist said is, I want to know, is there anybody that promised me eternal life? Is there anybody that said I could come back and start over again? Get rid of all the mess in this world, all the politics, all that garbage that's all around us, and start over brand new with a world without sin. And that's what I'm looking for. That's why, sometimes people say, why are you so happy? Well, I have a life forever, and it's going to be a perfect world where there's no $4.59 a gallon. It's costing me a lot of money. I'm not wealthy. And so every time I go, it's like, and my expenses on a monthly basis have gone crazy. I thought I was retiring, and then I asked the church, can I work part-time? Because I just can't afford to be retired. So let's take a look at, now that we've seen what Jesus promised us, I want to look at our text in Mark chapter 5. And we're going to be in this for, I don't know if you can see this, but this is my little outline that I give to everybody at church when we're doing this lesson live. And I do really want you to join us. Stop in and visit with the church in Escanaba. And you'll get one of these little lesson sheets if I'm preaching. And I've got blanks. It says, Jesus blank about people. Well, that's the first question we're going to ask. And they all fill in their little thing while I'm preaching. So I want you to turn to Mark 5:21 first. Just a few verses here will actually tell us why springing to new life is so important, and how we see that Jesus made that possible in 3 different ways. Mark 5:21. And when Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered around him. And he was beside the sea. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he fell at his feet. Okay, now just so you clearly understand, Jairus is a synagogue ruler, so that means that he's actually a Jew. Jesus was a Jew. And so they would have related because they were both under the Old Testament law at that time. And Jairus saw Jesus and got down on his knees in front of him. He had a question for him. And implored him earnestly, saying, my little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be made well and live. And he, Jesus, went with him. So this man, the synagogue ruler, has asked for healing his little girl. Now, we all can relate to the fact that our loved ones, we would do anything to help them. And so this ruler knew that Jesus had been doing miracles. So he asked him to go and do a miracle for him. Well, think about it. This is the Jesus that says, I am the resurrection and the life. People believed that already early in his ministry because he was showing that he was from God, because he was doing things that no one else can do. He was healing crippled people. He was healing blind people. He was actually raising people from the dead. Now, no hesitation here on Jesus' part, you notice? The minute the man asked, he says, I'll go with you. And they began to go and see the little girl. So my point, and what's on my lesson in number 1, is Jesus cared about people. That's a lesson for us too. How much do we care about other people? Are we willing to, move our schedule around because someone has a need? I would hope so. That's the way Jesus was. He cared about people. And that makes it all the more reason why, if he's offering me new life and he cares, why wouldn't I want to be a part of that? If you want to stay in this world and think about all the negative things that are going around, that's your choice. But I'd much rather, while I'm still here and this is all going on around me, I can be happy. I can have peace in my heart because I know I'm with the one who actually cares about me and everyone else. And he's asked me to care about the people who are still struggling. And if you decide to become a Christian, he wants you to care about people too. Do you see how the influence of Jesus in one person then begins to affect others? Because they care about people. And each one of those, when they become Christians, what happens is they care about people. And it just continues to grow. Jesus told a parable once about a mustard seed. And I don't know if you've ever seen one, but I've shown one in Escanaba. And Dixie Franklin, who was on the program once with me, a travel writer and a great personality in the Marquette area. She's passed, but she gave me a little bottle and had 2 mustard seeds in it. They were so tiny you could barely see them. Jesus said, if your faith is like a mustard seed, real small, it can grow. Well, how does that grow? You care about someone else. They care about other people. They care about other people. And pretty soon you have a plant that is large enough for the birds to make their nest in. The mustard plant. So let's go on to verses 25 through 34. One of the reasons I like this passage so much is it's a miracle within a miracle. And after I read this, I'll explain what I mean by miracle within a miracle. Okay? We're looking at verse 25 through 34, a little longer reading. But verse 25 says, a great crowd followed him and thronged about him. And there was a woman who had had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, rather was worse. Okay, so we've got a very ill woman. It's a long-term illness, and she can't find anyone that can heal her. And she's been to the doctors. She heard the reports about Jesus and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if I touch even his garments, I will be made well. Let's stop there for a second. You've heard some popular songs, and there's some hymns about it, about touching the hem of his garment. This is that story where that came from. It was inspired by this story of Jesus, just hundreds of people around him, and he's going from place to place. He's on his way to heal Jairus' daughter. And this woman hears about him, sees him, and just sneaks up behind him and touches the hem of his garment. Okay, verse 29. And immediately the flow of blood dried up. And she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, who touched my garments? I like this next part, verse 31. And his disciples said to him, you see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, who touched me? You know, it's kind of like sarcastic in the fact that they said, there's hundreds of people, and we're all pushing and shoving and trying to get down the road together. And you ask, who touched my garments? Can you understand how they just couldn't seem to relate? They were too caught up in the physical. So Jesus said, well, and his disciples said, would you see the crowd? Verse 32, and he looked around to see who had done it. Sounds almost like he's looking for somebody to get him in trouble. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, she had been healed, came in fear and trembling and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. He wasn't angry. He just wanted to make known that he loved and he cared about this woman. Remember, Jesus cared about people. But this passage, I put another C word. Jesus connected with people. In other words, on a day-to-day basis, I may be out and about. And I know that I can do this. If I'm busy, I can make it possible I don't see anybody when I stop at a store or whatever. It's easy to be in a mode where I'm so busy I don't even look around. I've tried to stop that because I'm never too busy to connect with people. And yet I know that's a part of me that, well, I don't want to mess up my schedule today. I need to get in and get out and be done with it. That isn't what Jesus did. He's on the way to heal a little girl. And he stops and connects with this woman who has been struggling for 12 years. Are we connecting with people? If you are a Christian, take the time to connect with people. Ask a question. Smile. I just love it when there's a little old lady in the Walmart or Meijer and they can't reach the top shelf. I just love that so much. And it's not because I want to see them struggle, it's because I can't wait to help and connect with them and grab it and say, anything else up high I can help you with? I know that sounds silly, but we need to be having this connection with each other. Do you remember what the opening months of COVID were like, where we couldn't connect with people? Well, let's take advantage of every opportunity to let Jesus' light that's in us connect with others who may need to be encouraged or may need to be healed. So Jesus cares about people. Jesus connects with people. And finally, in verses 35 through 43, I was going to explain to you miracle within a miracle. He's on his way to heal the little girl. The woman touches his garment. He changes his schedule for just a little while and finds her and blesses her and heals her. So we've got a overall miracle. We got to get this 12-year-old girl saved. But this woman's had a problem for 12 years. That's how I remember it anyways, because 12 and 12. And he performed a miracle inside of another miracle. So now he's back on his way. Verse 35. While he was still speaking, there came from the ruler's house some who said, your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? But overhearing what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, do not fear, only believe. And he allowed no one to follow him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. They came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. That 12-year-old girl has died. And when he entered, he said to them, why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but sleeping. And they laughed at him, and he put them all outside and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. taking her by the hand, he said to her, Talitha cum, which means, little girl, I say to you, arise. And immediately the girl got up and began walking, for she was 12 years old. And they were immediately overcome with amazement. And he strictly charged them that no one should know this, and told them to give her something to eat. That completes the miracles. We got the miracle of Jairus wants his daughter healed. He heals a woman in the process. He cares about people, he connects with people, and he completes our salvation. Just like the Canadian scientist said, I need 2 questions answered. Can anyone resurrect from the dead? And Jesus is the only one. And does he offer me that same hope? And yes, he does. And he brought this girl back, and the joy was overwhelming. It was a shadow, like a forecast or a prediction of what Jesus was going to do for us when he died. He went to the cross. He went to the tomb. And then he rose again, springing to new life, and he's offered that to each one of us. I've only got 2 minutes left. I wish I had more time. I always talk so much, but you could see the excitement. I want us to have that same excitement in our lives. And if you need some help determining how to do that, well, my first thought is go back and review some of the YouTube videos of our lessons the last few weeks. I'll make this available. This is my outline from today. If you'd like an outline of what must I do to be saved, or how Jesus connects with people and completes our salvation, well, you can write to me at the Church of Christ in Escanaba. If you write to the Marquette Church of Christ, that's fine. Alex will just say, hey, Dave, you got a couple people want the outlines. And I'll get that message and send them out. So I've got these lesson outlines that we use, but I've also got a Bible course that you can take in the privacy of your home to bring you to a knowledge of the truth. 7 lesson booklets. If you write or call the Marquette Church of Christ, they can send out lesson 1 right away. And if you need a Bible to study with, I offer free of charge the hardcover English Standard Version that I use while I read on the program. Alex will send those out to you right away. Marquette Church of Christ, P.O. Box 372. The zip in Marquette is 49855. I want to thank you for being with me today. It's exciting to be back in the saddle, and I hope you'll continue to join me over the next few weeks. I'm giving Alex a break, but he's doing an outstanding job, and I hope you'll continue to watch him as well. This is going to be a great week as we spring to new life. May God bless you in everything you do.